Hello and welcome to OpenLine. I'm Starlene Stringer. Irving is taking on a big project, a comprehensive plan. It's called Imagine Irving. On this program, we're going to learn all about what a comprehensive plan is and explain how you can get involved. Viewers were invited to submit questions through email and social media, and we're going to get those answered throughout the show. Our guests are City of Irving Planning and Community Development Director Steve Reed. John Fregonesi is the president of Fregonesi and Associates. Scott Fregonesi is a principal there, and I want to thank them all for being here. Thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Well, let's get right to it. We're going to start with the big question, Steve. For those who are not familiar with it, what is a comprehensive plan?
Well, thank you, Starlene. It's good to be here. I appreciate this opportunity to talk about this major initiative for the City of Irving.
Thank you.
Well, every few years, a community gets together to imagine and plan the future. And that process is called the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan is a roadmap to the future. And through the comprehensive plan, it serves as a guide for decision making as we plan for the future. Through the comprehensive plan, we answer questions such as, how will we get around? The transportation needs that the community will have. Where will we live? What types of housing? Where is housing located? Where will we work? As technology changes, how does the workforce change? And then questions like, what services will the city need to provide our residents in 20 years, and our businesses as well? And then finally, what do we need to do today to make sure that Irving stays the great community that it is for our children and our grandchildren?
Sounds great. Now, you mentioned this happens periodically, so when was the last time the city went through this process?
The last major comprehensive plan was 1997. We did an update in 2008, but this is the first really major update to the plan since the 97 plan.
I see. And so, John, what's your role in the planning process?
We're the consultant lead, so we're in the business of doing comprehensive plans, regional plans, small plans for cities. And we have a great team of people that are mostly from around the area. We have Kimley Horn that's going to be doing engineering, JHA Architects, and other local firms to help with that. But basically, to do a plan right there's a couple of things that you need. One is you need a lot of community involvement, you need a lot of ideas, and then you have to be right technically. A modern comprehensive plan is a lot about engineering and economics and computer modeling to make sure that the plan isn't just a bunch of words on paper, that it can be turned into action to actually achieve the things that people want.
Makes sense. So, Scott, tell us about your company's experience in taking on projects like this.
Well, actually, we've done quite a few different comprehensive plans across the nation. We did one in Tulsa recently, in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. We've worked in Denver and in California quite a bit as well, and in Oregon too.
And you just finished one in Omaha?
Omaha, Nebraska, yeah. So, and we did a big regional vision there. So we work at many different scales, from neighborhood planning, which we're going to do as part of this process as well, but also comprehensive plans and regional visions and regional work too.
So you guys
and we did one for this town called Dallas that's nearby.
Well, I should have mentioned
So you
that.
guys
Dallas
had some practice with the
Comprehensive
little small places, and then you came to the best. Irving.
Exactly.
We appreciate that. So let's talk about the specifics here in Irving. Steve, you mentioned the theme is Imagine Irving. So how did y'all come up with that?
We had a great team working with our communications department as well as the Fregonesi team. They came up with some initial ideas that we vetted through our staff. And it was the consensus that the Imagine Irving really captured the flavor of what we were trying to do, to reach out to the community and just get people to dream about what they want to see Irving be 20 years from now.
Wonderful, and we're getting a look at that logo right now. Looks nice. Imagine Irving. We'll be seeing a lot of that, I'm sure. And I hear your team really is interested in getting residents involved, as you just mentioned, getting the community to come out. And I know there's citywide workshops taking place. One's coming up on March 3rd. Tell us about it.
Yes, we have a series of workshops scheduled. The first will be on March the 3rd. There will actually be 2 workshops that particular day.
Okay.
Both of them will be at the Irving Convention Center. One will be from 11 to 2, so people who are available during the day can come to that one. And then the other one will be from 5:30 to 8. And we certainly want to encourage as many people as possible to come to either one of those workshops. The same material will be presented at both, so you don't need to come to both workshops. But we really want to encourage as many people as possible to come to one of those workshops.
Wonderful. We have the information on the screen. Do they just show up, or do they need to register?
No, they just show up.
Perfect. And Scott, why is it so important to actually hear from residents?
Well, one of the keys to the plan, as we already mentioned, is getting to know what the citizens of the city want for the future. And so this is their chance to come to a workshop and show us with a bunch of tools that we give them, maps and chips and pins, and we ask them questions, and they're able to tell us what they want to change and what they want to stay the same in the future. And so the ideas that come out of the workshops will tie back into the final comprehensive plan when it's all complete.
Makes sense. And so that's really beneficial for you, John?
Oh, it's tremendous. First of all, I want people to understand this isn't, you think of a public meeting and you go there and everyone sits in an audience, someone gets up and talks and you're listening.
Right.
This is very much hands-on. You're going to be sitting around a table with, 8 to 10 of your neighbors and friends and people you don't know. There'll be activities, there's a map and a way for basically for your group to do a little plan and tell everyone else about it. We're going to have instant voting. So just like on American Idol, you'll be able to vote ideas off or, basically tell us how you feel about things, and people see the results instantly. So it's a couple of hours, but it goes by quickly, and it's a lot of fun. And when these are done, people feel like they've spent their time well and that they enjoyed it. And also, we really use that. This is the foundation. It's the very beginning of the plan. We take these ideas as the beginning, and that what comes out at the end is going to be the ideas that come out of this workshop refined. And I think that's a really good way to gather those ideas. So you don't have to come in with any particular expertise. You just have to care about Irving and tell us your dreams, and we'll work out the practical details. We just need to know where people want to go.
Awesome. So you really do want to get everyone involved.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect. And I know this is not the only thing y'all are doing to reach out to people, Steve. In addition to the workshops, there's also a steering committee, I'm told. Can you tell me what that group's role is?
Yes, we've appointed about 25-person advisory committee made up of representatives from all different segments of the community. As we put the list together, we tried to find geographic distribution throughout the entire community, representatives from neighborhoods, representatives from the business community, people from the arts community, people interested in the faith-based organizations in the community, social services, total broad spectrum of age ranges, all the racial and ethnic groups within the community. So it's as broad a representation as we could come up with. And this committee will serve as kind of a sounding board for the plan as we develop it. They'll be very actively involved in the workshops as we go forward, and we'll use them to not only vet ideas with them, but also ask them to be our messengers to the rest of the community, to convey information about the comprehensive plan to whatever groups that they're a part of, encourage people to come forward and participate in the workshops and provide us with information as we go through the process. So they are an integral part of this whole process.
Interesting. Okay. And my understanding is that y'all have already heard from the steering committee. So Scott, can you tell me what are your impressions so far?
Well, first of all, I have to say that the steering committee is a very diverse group from multiple interests across the city. So we were very impressed at their ideas and what they were able to tell us last night. It was our first meeting, but I think that everyone thought it went well. We ran through what we're going to do for the entire plan and then talked about the workshops. And what we really wanted to do was have them help get the folks to the workshop. So that was a lot of talking about how they can spread the message through their networks and their friends. And so I think we accomplished a lot during that first meeting.
Right.
Wonderful. And I know also you guys have already, John, collected some background information.
Right.
Tell me what's been done up to this point.
Well, first of all, look at physically where Irving is in terms of its land supply.
Okay.
One of the things, cities kind of go through phases of life just like people. They're little babies and then they grow and then they reach maturity, and you basically are nearing that point with Irving where I would say in the 80s and 90s you were growing through annexations and expansions and new developments. Right now Irving is pretty much built out to its city limits. There's only about 2,700 acres, which is a lot of land, but it's in little pieces here and there around the city. And probably twice that could be redeveloped, about 5,000 acres, that are places that are getting older, especially commercial industrial areas that could be redeveloped. So it's a different kind of program for the next 25 years than you've had in the past. So that's kind of interesting. The one thing that's notable, two things really notable about Irving. One is the amazing position you have in the center of the region, so close to DFW. You can get anywhere from Irving. I mean, think about it. You can go to a basketball game by train, by car. or you could get on a plane and be in Mumbai by the end of the day. I mean,
Sounds
that's
nice.
kind of
Yeah.
amazing. The other thing that's really notable, people think, you hear a lot about the country's aging, and we're getting older. And the average age in the United States is 37, going up fast. Interestingly, in Irving, it's 31 and not going up very fast. It's very young, and it's full of what everyone's trying to recruit, the young professionals. About a third of the population, a third of the households, you can identify as people in their 20s and 30s, good education, starting out in their careers. And it makes the city a really vibrant place and a really desirable place for business, but also we want to try to capture some of that youthful vitality and bring it into the city's dynamic and really kind of make the city, basically, it's not a baby boomer city. It's a millennials city and a Gen X city. And so we're trying to make sure the city reflects the people that are here. And we really want to involve that younger population in the plan because we're planning their future. So they need to be part of it. They need to be at the table and do that. It's great to work for such a vital place. The other thing about Irving is it's very diverse. It's got white, black, Hispanic, Asian, a little bit of everything. And people seem remarkably comfortable with it here. People really get along. You go to these groups, there's all these ethnic groups, and people don't seem to even know that it's unusual, but everyone is just cool with it. So it's really refreshing and portends really well for the future of the city. So we want to harness that energy and make sure it ends up in the plan.
It's definitely going to be exciting to see what y'all come up with. Now, Steve, I know there are 3 areas of special focus, and we're going to put those on the screen. So can you tell us why each of those were selected?
Yes, in a city this size, it's hard to study every neighborhood and come up with solutions for every single one. So as part of the project, we decided to identify 3 specific focus areas where issues we identify in those areas could also be applied to other neighborhoods throughout the community. So after looking at several different options, we came up with 3 focus areas. The first is the Valley Ranch area. And the reason we chose that is just some background on Valley Ranch, and if you're looking at the map, it's at the top of the screen. Since the 80s, Valley Ranch has been one of the signature residential neighborhoods, not only in Irving, but all of North Texas.
Okay.
Excellent residential development, some very attractive retail and commercial development as well. Lots of parks and open space and trails and canals, those kind of things. But its identity has always been tied back to the Dallas Cowboys. With the Cowboys leaving in the near future, we saw this as an opportunity to rebrand Valley Ranch and come up with some strategies to make sure that Valley Ranch remains the type of attractive, vibrant community that it has been for the last 30 years. And since a lot of the infrastructure has been there for 30 years, there's obviously issues of ongoing maintenance and how do we make sure that the infrastructure is properly maintained for the future. Also, as a side issue, the Cypress Waters development in the city of Dallas, just to the east of Valley Ranch, needs to be looked at as far as its impact on Valley Ranch. We fully anticipate that the traffic arteries in the area, the open spaces, the libraries, those types of city facilities that Irving has could be impacted by the Cypress Waters development, so we want to get a handle on that. A second area we looked at is the intersection of Beltline and State Highway 183.
Okay.
We're just calling this the Airport Beltline focus area. The housing in this particular neighborhood was mostly built in the 60s, but it's still very good quality housing, and it's representative of the types of housing we see throughout this particular area between 183 and Northgate.
Okay.
Pretty well maintained, but again, dealing with issues of aging and maintenance and those types of things. What's unique about this particular neighborhood, though, is the concentration of retail and commercial right at the intersection of Beltline and 183. We've got Irving Mall, Target, Home Depot, Lowe's, and then the retail corridors along both 183 and Beltline. What kind of strategies do we need to be considering to help maintain the vitality of those retail developments, as well as maintain the integrity of the neighborhoods, make sure the properties are properly maintained, that code enforcement issues are addressed, again, infrastructure is taken care of. This particular area is also one of the main entryways into Irving. Beltline Road is a regional thoroughfare. In many cases, the first impact Irving has on someone is when they get off at that intersection and they see what's there. So we want to make sure that what is there is attractive and makes a positive impression for Irving. And then, of course, the biggest issue looming for that particular area is the 183 widening project. kicking off later this year. And we need to look at the short-term impact of that over the next couple of years during construction, but then what will be the long-term opportunities of that reconstruction, and how can we make sure that the whole 183 corridor remains viable into the future. And then finally, the third focus area is what we're just calling the Shady Grove focus area.
Okay.
It's a neighborhood bounded by Rock Island Road on the north, MacArthur on the east, Shady Grove Road on the south, and Story on the west.
Okay.
This is the sort of neighborhood that's really the heart of Irving. This area developed initially in the 40s and has had housing developed up until really the last few years. So it has a very diverse range of housing. Single family, some multifamily, has some older commercial perimeter tracts. And the issues we see in that particular neighborhood we think can be identified in other neighborhoods in the area as well. And so the solutions we find for that neighborhood can be applied citywide. Again, this is primarily a residential neighborhood, so we have a chance to really look at residential maintenance and sustainability of those neighborhoods as we go forward into the future.
Wonderful. And there are going to be workshops in each of those areas, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Well, we're going to put some information on the screen about those. Can you tell us more?
Yes, they'll be in 3 days
Okay.
in April for the Valley Ranch focus area. It'll be at Ranchview High School on Tuesday, April the 7th from 5:30 to 8:30. For the Airport Freeway Beltline focus area, it'll be at the Northwest Park Recreation Center on Wednesday, April the 8th from 5:30 to 8:30. And then the third will be the Shady Grove focus area at Center Park Recreation Center on Thursday, April the 9th from 5:30 to 8:30.
Wonderful. And Scott, what types of ideas do people need to bring to those workshops?
I think I would recommend that they bring to the workshops what their vision for the future of the city is going to be. You know, what do they want to have change? What are things that they want to have stay the same about the city? And then be open-minded. You know, come work with your friends and neighbors and let us know what you think. So that's really what I would desire to have them bring.
And would you like to add to that, Steve?
I think just the ideas, dreams, visions, what you think is important both today as well as what's going to be important 20 years from now.
Yeah.
And just anticipating what the future holds.
Wonderful. And it's not just the community itself, but you guys are also reaching out to civic groups within the community, talking to those civic groups. Tell me what that involves in particular.
Well, reaching out just for communication purposes to make them aware of the comprehensive plan program and invite them to participate in those. There'll be opportunities for speakers to come and speak to groups like the Rotary Club and AMBUCS and those types of organizations and get the word out.
Wonderful. And Scott, I understand that there's a new website for this process.
Yes.
Can you tell us about that? What will residents find at the website?
Sure, I'm actually pretty excited to talk about the website because we just got to launch it yesterday.
Awesome.
So it's there for everyone to go take a look at. One of the best things you can do if you want to stay involved in the project is you can sign up when you get to the website. You put your email address in, you'll be on our mailing list. You can access all of the events and schedules for what we're going to be doing. We post any of the presentations that we've been doing for the steering committees. We're going to post for the public to be able to see what we presented to the steering committee. There's going to be a whole host of information on the website as the project continues because that's our best way to continually show the community what's going on in the project itself.
Wonderful. And that's imagineirving.org.
Thank
Sounds
you.
great. You're welcome.
ImagineIrving.org.
Yeah. And so, John, let me ask you, in addition to these workshops we've been talking about with residents, I'm guessing there's got to be a lot going on behind the scenes. Can you give us some insight into the rest of the process? What's going on?
Well, there's a number of things that are going on to make sure that we can take these ideas and then make them feasible.
Okay.
One is we're going to be building a computer model of Irving in the computer so that it's basically a representation of Irving. It's kind of like SimCity on steroids, except for real. It's a representation of the city, and so we can test these changes and then look at different indicators. We can look at the financial health of the city. We can look at the environmental impacts of the various things. We'll look at traffic and how people move around, look at the health of the residents. So you can find out a lot about that. Included in that is basically transportation modeling that's done not just in our model, but put into the regional model. So we'll be able to see how Irving reacts to regional changes in growth. The Dallas-Fort Worth area is one of the most dynamic, not only in the United States, but in the world in terms of large metropolitan areas. It's going to be growing. They're going to be making investments in infrastructure, and we want to make sure that Irving plan is done in context with the region. So we're going to be looking at that. And there's a separate economic development project that's being that basically at the same time we're doing this, we're integrating with the economic future of Irving. There's an economic development project going on at the same time. The consultants for that are good friends of ours, and we're going to be integrating closely with them. So the engine that pulls us all along is a good, strong economy, and we realize we have to kind of get in line behind that. So those are all things going along to support the basic ideas. But I want people to know that there's some technique to that, but the main thing is you need to be inspired. You need to have some great ideas. That comes from the people. And then if they tell us what they want us to do, we'll figure out how to get it done. But we need to know what to do. And that what to do is what people can give us. And a lot of times I find people are very expert about their community. They have a lot of ideas. They've been thinking about it, driving to work every day saying, why don't they do this? Or I saw this in this other town. Why can't we be more like that? Well, this is the time to come and throw your ideas on the table. If enough people think it's a good idea, it'll end up in the plan.
I'm sure a lot of people will be excited about being able to voice what they want to have done. Okay, so this question for you, Scott. I know a lot of people are probably thinking this too. So, okay, we've talked about this whole planning process, but how long is it going to take?
Well, actually, it's a really good question. The whole process is a 2-year process from start to finish. We're planning on using this first year to really kind of get all the ideas on the table, do all the modeling and the testing, and then at the end of the year, we'll be drafting the plan itself. So within the year, we'll have that draft plan. Then we need to go back out with the plan to the community and say, hey, did we get this right? You know, so that's the second year in the second phase, and then go into adoption. So probably 2 years total.
Okay, that's fair. And John, so I know you guys are already working on this. As Scott just told us, it's already kind of kicked off a little bit. So based on the early meetings you've already had and looking at some data you have, are opportunities already starting to emerge in your mind?
Yes, I mean, there really are. First of all, it's around the economic engine that Irving is, and it continues to grow. This continues to be a place businesses want to go. As we said, there's not a lot of vacant land, and making the most out of that is really important. One of the things that cities all over the country are dealing with is the changing face of retail. Retailing from the 1950s till the 2000s took up a lot of land and a lot of buildings. There's a lot of brick and mortar, malls and strip centers and big box stores and all kinds of things. And the more we move to the internet, it really affects a lot of things about our cities that are kind of dynamic. Interestingly enough, I was looking at some statistics. Nationally, vehicle miles traveled by cars has gone down by about 8%. Delivery trucks has gone up by 18%.
That is interesting.
And it's kind of interesting that you know, basically you see things like Radio Shack going out of business, the demise of, you know, Kmart having troubles and things like that. There's a lot of our area that's set up for retail that's going to be transitioning to something else, and probably not retail. So these areas that are set up like the Irving area, the workshop we're going to do out there that are largely retail, you can think about other things to do with those. And in a lot of places, they're repurposed into more entertainment centers. There's a lot more restaurants. There's maybe live music. There's the kind of thing that perhaps that young, dynamic population that lives in Irving would find for entertainment. We've heard young people say, I wish there was more to do for me here. And then you take that need, that market demand, the opportunity, try to marry them together in creative ways. That makes those areas attractive for people to try to live close by, buy houses in the area. I mean, it has a real dynamic in the whole neighborhood. So we've had some ideas already pop out.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be fun to see what y'all come up with after getting all the community involvement and all the questions and all the desires people want, get that taken care of. It's going to be fun to see. And I know, Steve, once John and Scott turn in the report to you, you guys have to get the ball running. So what does the city do with all that information once you receive the report?
I think one of the key elements of the plan is an implementation plan. The comprehensive plan will include a whole set of policies and recommendations and specific action steps as to how to implement these recommendations. So the staff's job will be to take that and working with the city council as we go forward each year with the budget process, with the city council's own strategic planning process, to make sure that those long-term goals are not forgotten and that with every decision that the council makes, it's got the comprehensive plan in mind, so that 20 years down the road, all the things that we're envisioning today will have come true.
Wonderful. Well, I know a lot of people are saying, man, I didn't get that information that he was telling us about the workshop. So before we finish, can you go ahead and let us know those workshop times and dates again in case there are those who want to attend? And of course, y'all want everyone to be there.
We want everyone to be
Yes,
there.
as many as possible.
Yes.
There'll be 2 workshops on Tuesday, March the 3rd.
Okay.
One from 11 till 2,
Okay.
and the other from 5:30 to 8 at the Irving Convention Center. And then the small area workshops, the Valley Ranch Focus Area on Tuesday, April the 7th from 5:30 to 8:30 at Ranchview High School. The second Airport Freeway and the Beltline Focus Area at Northwest Park Recreation Center on Wednesday, April the 8th from 5:30 to 8:30. And the Shady Grove Focus Area at Center Park Recreation Center on Thursday, April the 9th, 5:30 to 8:30.
And they only need to attend one of those workshops?
They're welcome to attend all of them,
Okay.
but only one is really necessary.
Makes sense.
Well,
Okay.
I would say it'd be interesting to go to the citywide workshops because you get to talk about the whole city bigger issues. The ones, if you're really interested in the area, the small area workshops allow you to get down to more of a human scale. So I'd encourage people to go to everyone come to the citywide workshops and go to the area you're most interested in for the second workshop.
And John, since this is not the first city that you've worked with, probably the best, but we'll let you decide that. But since it's not the first, tell us about the experience with the other ones. Has it paid off? Has all the research and the feedback you've gotten from people paid off in other cities?
Yeah, actually, it's a lot of places I've been doing planning almost 40 years now, and some of those early plans are still in place. They've been updated, and they've been a point that people really have valued. In some cases, when cities were in a crisis, they felt that it really changed the direction of the city in the direction they wanted to go. So one of the cities I did plans for was Portland, which is well known as kind of setting its own direction. And we don't bring ideas from other cities. We try to use our techniques to implement the ideas they come up with. You know, another one, frankly, is Baton Rouge. You know, we worked on their plan a few years ago. I don't know, people haven't, you know, Baton Rouge doesn't make a lot of headlines, but it's gone through a tremendous transformation and it's really become not only vital, but economically successful. They just attracted a new IBM headquarters there that they felt they couldn't have done had they not had their act together and their plan.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what this does for the city of Irving. And again, that website, if people want to go to it, that you're very proud to share, Scott, is?
It's imagineirving.org, so please come visit.
Will do. Thank y'all so much for taking time out of your busy schedules to talk to us and invite everyone to come out to the workshops. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you for
you.
having
Thank you.
us.
Thank you. And thank you for watching. I'm Starlene Stringer. Please be sure to join us live Thursday, March 12th at 1:30 p.m. for our next edition of Open Line. We'll be talking with members of the DFW Area Tourism Council. If you have questions, email them to ictn@cityofirving.org or connect with us on Facebook and we'll get answers for you on our next edition of Open Line. We'll see you then.